Welcome back to the continuing adventures of the monad. We ended presentation 111 by looking at what people think is prayer and how they use it. They are essentially begging for something. They are seeking power from a divine source to act against the laws of life and nature. What do I mean here? Things happen because they can, and because they are acting within the laws that govern all matter in the universe. When you pray for some kind of divine intervention, you are asking for that law to be superseded. If this were possible, the universe would be in chaos. To bring order out of chaos, you have to have laws that govern the relationship of everything to everything else. This is why the political ideologies of the anarchist are not viable. So, let us start by looking at what prayer means in the true sense of the word. When you pray, you should not try to appropriate a cosmic being. If you are going to project your thoughts, would it not be better to try and contribute to helping others by using the force of your telepathy? In this manner, you generate elementals that are beneficial to all, sending them out into the emotional and mental environment. You may also attempt to draw down molecules from plane 46, where love and wisdom are the defining attributes. In this way, you are attempting to ennoble humanity, not ask for personal favors. Think now of the prayers said by mystics or those of monastic orders. These monads spend hours each day in constant prayer. What are they trying to achieve? The most important thing is mind control. They are attempting to prevent their thoughts from wandering unnecessarily. Prayer is a connection with and to the higher worlds, and the effort spent in prayer is never wasted. Prayer truly is the best of all states and the finest form of concentration. We should ideally all return to this state when we are not engaged in other necessary tasks. That is a theory, at least. We do not need to, and indeed should not, pray for ourselves. However, by praying for others, we supply them with power, light, and love. We should be clear that a prayer is a form of concentration, and therefore elementals are generated. These elementals have to go somewhere and have an effect. We should then be mindful that prayer is something that can be granted and therefore should be used in the correct manner. Remember, everything has to be paid for. There are no free lunches in our universe. The higher beings that are often called upon in prayer are not our servants. If they do something for us, they will expect payment. They are happy to give energy that fosters consciousness development. They are not in the business of providing physical satisfaction. Another hammer blow for that sports car you always wanted. It has been previously stated that prayer is emotional meditation. What is the plane represented directly above the emotional plane in our triadic structure? It is the plane 46, the unity plane. So this form of meditation seeks to draw down essential molecules 46 via the emotional envelope 48, delivering them to plane 49. This is a powerful process and one that is taught to disciples who use both emotional and mental meditation to convey unity/essential and causal/higher mental energy from the second triad into the first triad. This is done in dynamic cooperation. It is worth remembering that when we harmonize our will to those of existence, the effects of that will are irresistible. There is more than a grain of truth in the phrase, the power of prayer. This is achieved when you harmonize the vibrations of your thoughts with those of the Absolute. Let us dig a little deeper and look at the process of esoteric prayer. How does this differ from any other kind of prayer? Esoteric prayer presupposes that the person praying has an insight into the laws of debit and credit. Remember, what you pray for is entered into the debit ledger, and these debts have to be paid for under all the 7 major laws of life. These include the laws of freedom, unity, development, self, destiny, karma, and attraction. So, how should an esoterician pray? I choose the way of the interpreter, and therefore I pray for light. I choose the way of loving guidance, and therefore I pray for elevating power. You use this format to clarify to yourself what you want and prepare to receive it, attend to what you are given, and how it is also given to you. Pious hopes are not enough. You must have the prerequisites. First, acquire the ability to pray, starting with concentration. Lawrence gives an example of a prayer that ancients used when praying to their guardian angels. Lead me from the unreal to the real. Lead me from darkness to light. Lead me from death to immortality. A point of clarification, so you don't get confused when they use the word death. This means incarnation, and by immortality, they mean freedom from the necessity of incarnation. This prayer is one of the first self wishing to become a second self. This is a move away from individuality to universality. The prayer uttered by the ancients was a collective prayer for humanity, not themselves, as they were initiates of the highest orders and had already entered into the consciousness of unity. So why did they say these prayers? They were throwing out vibrations into the emotional world, creating an egregore. This was then available to all that were able to reach out to it. An egregore is also created in the mental world for those seekers who wish to reach out to it with their superconscious thoughts. When we are taught the science of evocation and invocation, individually as well as collectively, this technique will supersede the current practice of praying to God for help. Now, there's something to look forward to. When we collectively, or at least a significant proportion of us, can focus our emotions and thoughts with great intensity, we have the ability to overcome the energies we generate through common bad karma. If we now collectively ask for something, we then, according to the law, are owed a result. We should, however, be aware that all gifts received command a corresponding price. This is demanded by the law of compensation. This brings us to the concept of the power of thought. By now, we should all be aware that we become our thoughts. When we think, we work up new mental molecules in our brain. We can then expel these thoughts into our surroundings on the mental plane. These, via the process of telepathy, can be picked up by others. If you are emitting rational thoughts, they find a home in someone else's mental body, and this then gets passed down into their physical brain. This makes it easier for them to think rationally as well. There is something that we all need to be aware of. We, as first selves, do not need to pray for ourselves. Our guardian angel takes care of that for us. We do not need to pray for our second self. It takes care of itself. Remember, our second self at this time is our guardian angel, a diva that is already operating from Unity Consciousness 46. We do, however, need to pray for our fellow human beings. They need all the help they can get to overcome their ignorance, illusions, and their fiction. We help dispel the darkness by thinking clearly. We should regard this as an important mission for ourselves. We have spoken before about the mental and emotional worlds being seething cauldrons of our mismanaged emanations. By thinking clearly, we tidy up this mess, and these thoughts can then be transferred to those who are able to receive them. There will still be those that feel the need to pray. It helps them to relieve themselves of their worries and their fears. This is psychologically beneficial to them. Lawrence points out that those who pray do not need to resort to psychoanalysts. On that sobering thought, I will leave it here for today and continue next time by looking at the subjects of meditation. Thank you.